Alrighty, what do we have today? Kind of a weird one. So there's no village anywhere aside from the villagers you can get from lackeys, which would make it hard to build any sort of engine that's playing council rooms for draw and then gaining a bunch of stuff with kiln. You'd burn through the villagers pretty fast. That being said, lackeys is generally a pretty strong card. I imagine some amount of usage of villagers to play multiple terminals will come up. And then aside from lackeys, there's also farrier, which is generally a really strong card. And so the two cheap twos make me think you're still doing more than playing like rudimentary big money. Probably the game plan is to get a modifier too early to get somewhat thin. And then I think kiln looks like a decent terminal. Maybe gaining buried treasures. Something along those lines. So how to open? Probably silver turn 1. And then I think farrier overpay turn 2 sounds good. Could also be silver lackeys. Would be pretty reasonable. With Way of the Squirrel, the farrier in the deck is a little bit marginally better than it otherwise would be, because you can play it as a draw card. I think this is 2 draw now and then 1 draw whenever I play it. Alright. I've hit 6. Bottom 5 cards are 3 coppers and a farrier. So I for sure want to modify going into this next shuffle. Question is, buy buried treasure here and then buy modify next turn is one option. Buy modify here and buy like a second farrier or something turn 2, not turn 2, turn 4. That just seems worse than buried treasure. Third option would be buy modify now, play the farrier normally instead of squirreling it turn 4, and that has the upside of triggering a shuffle that has a modify in it. Downside of being less draw. I'm not guaranteed to find that modify. This is 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. It's only like a 3/4 chance. It's not terrible odds. I think I like this line. Buried treasure I think is a card that I'm going to want. I'd rather get this Way of the Squirrel down, which I think will lead to drawing more consistently. And I think a second modify. Do I think that? I think I do. One thing that's relevant here is, just saying lackey seems good, but once the lackey's in your deck, it's not a very good card. So I expect to gain some number of lackeys and want to trash them again later, which means I have a lot of trashing to do. I don't see my farrier yet, which could be a reason to draw here. If I find the farrier and squirrel it, that would definitely be better than gaining a silver, I think. Yeah, I'm going to draw. And I have a buried treasure in the deck, which makes it not necessarily too early for kiln. I don't know how likely I am to line those 2 up, but I do have larger hands than usual with Way of the Squirrel. This is a tad greedy, but I'm going to try it. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm not. You know what's better than kiln is farrier. Let's just draw lots of cards. Alrighty, draw And we're going to do modify first. And I think I'm going to cantrip this because I haven't found my second modify. That seems worth it. Alrighty. 9 money. How many stop cards in the deck? 8. So this does not seem like a time for a massive failure overpay, because I would just be severely overdrawing. That's not necessarily true. So if, like, let's say I bought a failure here and overpaid by 7. I have a 12 card starting hand, so this would be 8 cards. I'd have every card in hand exactly. No, that's not true, because I'd have a failure in the deck as well. I would draw all but 1 card immediately. I'd play a failure. I'd have everything in deck in my hand, and then I could modify copper into lackeys, modify copper into lackeys, play the failures, and draw the lackeys, and then squirrel them. I mean, that could go somewhere. That sounds alright to me. I got 2 squirrels down. I think I can afford to add a kiln. And is this just another lackeys? No, lackeys, I meant farrier. Another farrier or a buried treasure. I'm going to say farrier. Haven't paid too much attention to what the bot is doing, but it does look similar. They got 2 modifies, some lackeys, some farriers. No kiln or buried treasure yet, but they did just take a gold. Alright, so I want the kiln to be the last action of the turn, so I can play buried treasure and gain it. At least one of these lackeys is dying, because they can't play all of this. Turn a lackeys into a silver, trash the other lackeys and draw it. That sounds reasonable. Not sure what the other lines I'd be considering here are. Something like copper into lackeys, cantrip a modify, trashing a lackeys, squirrel the lackeys and play the kiln. That also sounds like a reasonable line. So if I trash copper into lackeys, I get 2 more villagers, and then I burn all of my villagers playing lackeys, kiln. I would have 2 lackeys in the deck at that point, which is all right. I would have 4 extra draw from squirrel, and I would have trashed a copper. Whereas lackeys into silver, draw lackey or draw silver, leaves me with no lackeys in the deck, which is better than 2 lackeys in the deck. You don't really want them for the card; you want them for the villagers. And I get a silver at the downside of having 4 fewer draw and 1 more copper in the deck. That does not sound... Extra silver, 2 fewer lackeys versus extra draw, 1 less copper. I like the line that trashes the lackeys, I think. just because it frees up the modifies to be doing other stuff next turn, rather than just getting rid of the lackeys. I'm not sure that's correct. But I can fix the lack of draw here, I think, by just buying a farrier. Probably buried treasure plus farrier. Maybe it's lackeys plus farrier. Let's see. I don't... Oh, you know what? My kiln doesn't have a great target next turn, does it? Because both of these buried treasures are in play. Got 5, 6, 7, 8 stop cards at a minimum. So some amount of draw is in order. Is buying a gold a reasonable thing to do here? It's okay kiln target and can be modified later. That would only leave me with 5 money though, which is not enough to buy a big farrier overpay. Question is, what is this kiln doing next turn? Don't know the answer to that. Maybe it just gains a silver or gets squirreled or something. I could gain an extra modify. That wouldn't be terrible. Maybe something like Lackey's Farrier Overpay. That would give me 7 draw. I could probably do stuff with that 7 draw. Gotta watch over piles. Lackey's Inferior imminently emptying. The upside is I have more gains though, because I got these buried treasures for plus buy. Another gold. All right. Yeah, so kiln, modify, gain a modify, play normally, gain a lackeys, cantrip, gain a lackeys, squirrel. And they left me the last farrier, which is exceedingly generous. Should take a buried treasure here. So I'll have 2 turns hints for the kiln. That wasn't a farrier. Now I should keep my eyes on a modify pile out. Can I win here? Kiln can gain a modify. I can gain 2 lackeys off of 2 of the modifies. I can gain 2 modifies off of 2 of the modifies. And then I would have more than 10 money. But I would need to take an estate as well to have more than 11 money. Yes. I think this is just an exact win, isn't it? Let me double check before I start clicking. If kiln gains a modify, I'll have 4 total modify plays. 2 gain lackeys, 2 gain modifies. Well, I guess, why am I even assuming the modifies gain lackeys? Why don't I just gain the modifies with modifies and buy the lackeys? That gives me a lot more wiggle room. I'm pretty sure the line I was looking at had exactly enough money. Because I needed to buy modify estate at the end of all of that. I had exactly 12 money, including the kiln. But it would make a lot more sense to just gain them. I have to gain, maybe I have to gain some number of lackeys for villager reasons. That might be true. Yeah. Yeah, this is gonna be just fine. Yeah, I think the bot could have taken a few more farriers. In general, farrier is one of those cards where it's kind of like stockpile or villa, where once it gets low, I think you usually don't want to leave the last one or two in the pile just because your opponent can then use them. So, like, I think with two farriers in the pile, it's just like usually a context where I would expect that you buy one farrier and then overpay on the second farrier to deny them to your opponent, even at the cost of like having less draw yourself. And the bot left me with the farriers there on that penultimate turn. Also didn't make any use of the buried treasure, which I think is probably just a better card than gold here. But it was clicking the other important cards, so it wasn't totally off base.